What if Deku was an angel? Part 2. Now, before I did record this and upload this, I did post a poll in my community chat where I asked if you guys would like 10-minute shorter videos or 40 to 30 to 40 minute longer videos. And you guys, of course, said the longer videos. So my videos will not be up or not be edited anymore, and they will just be longer, which is going to be somehow a little bit hard to do with school and stuff, but I will try to make it work for you all's enjoyment and happiness. And now let's get into this what if. Now, last time I did say that the swords and weapons that Izuku has are going to be named by you all. I'm sorry if you guys hear any background noise. My cats, or my new cats that I just got like a week ago, are scratching my couch, which I can't really do anything to stop because it's the middle of the night for me. And yeah, I asked you guys if you wanted to name the weapons, and a lot of you guys posted comments in chat. Now, this is a name for the axe. I'm just going to come up with the Holy Axe, but I'm also going to take a suggestion calling the sword Excalibur. I'm still not quite sure about the bow and the dagger. You guys need to choose simpler names. I can't really just get like all these random Latin names some of you guys posted. So try to make simpler names this time. I'm not sure if this is actually going to be the final part or not, because I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. And let's get hopefully into this what if. Izuku had started to just fight this Nomu as he had taken Aizawa back to the students up at the top. Izuku would summon his holy axe, as he would then charge right at the Nomu. Izuku's axe would cut one of the Nomu's arms clean off, as Izuku would jump back, seeing an attack from the Nomu's left arm coming. Izuku would look up smiling, thinking that he's found the Nomu's weakness. However, he did not. This Nomu just easily regenerated his arm as Shigaraki started to laugh maniacally. "You fool! You think you can just kill Nomu that easily? Well then, think again! This Nomu, it has a regeneration quirk. You'll never be able to cut it into pieces, because every time you do, it'll just regrow 10 times as strong." Izuku would just think, "Damn it, should have done that. Now he's twice as strong as he used to be. I gotta think this plan through." While Izuku was thinking this, a punch from the Nomu would come right at his chest, to which he would barely be able to block. The Nomu would then try to smash Izuku into the ground, to which it was successful and landed a hit. Izuku would be then smashed into the ground and would then be kicked flying across the USJ. Aizawa would try to step in to stop this madness that the Nomu was causing and hopefully trying to kill the Izuku, so Aizawa would try to step in, but he immediately looked over to Izuku, who was holding his hand out as if everything was going to be fine. Izuku would be smashed right into the wall, as he would then get up from the rubble, just smiling. "I now know your weakness." Shigaraki's eyes would widen in fear and say, "What? How could you? It's weakness. You've only been hit by it twice." "Well, new ability I've just found out about. As long as I get hit someone in some type of strength, you can find my opponent's weakness. Now, this should be a piece of cake." Izuku would get out his Excalibur sword and would cut the Nomu's head clean off, while also having his axe in his other hand, and would slam the axe down into the Nomu's head, which its brain being... I'm sorry, guys. I had to take one of my cats out of my room because they were making too much noise. And my other cat, his name's Cheeto, is just sitting by the door, and my cat Shrimp is just grabbing its tail through like the little hole in the door. Hold on, guys, I'll be right back. Sorry about that interruption, guys. Now, where were we? Izuku would slam his axe into the Nomu's brain, as he would then take his dagger out, putting both his sword and his axe away as they would poof into nothing, as he would then take his dagger and cut the Nomu's head and brain into billions of little tiny pieces as it would just flow away like dust. As the Nomu's other half of his body would just fall to the ground and start to disintegrate, not having a proper head or mind to be able to control the body. Shigaraki would step back just in complete shock and fear. He'd say, How the hell did you do that? Izuku would just laugh as he would use his strength in his muscles to propel himself right at Shigaraki and would go for a chop of his axe right at Shigaraki's head. But it was no use. Shigaraki had already gone through Kurogiri's portal. Izuku would then just say, Damn it! Could have got that guy. Now he's still on the loose. Izuku would walk back to his class with them just thanking him about what he did, as he would then just say, It's no problem, guys. Izuku would be walking back to his house after the USJ incident would happen, as he would then receive a letter in the mail which would say that they have a 3-week break off from UA. Izuku would just say, Oh, that's cool, I guess, as he would be walking down the street to go get groceries, as he would see a familiar face, Ochako Uraraka. She was crossing a crosswalk, as he would then see something in his mind. It was a bus. Strange, Izuku would think, as he would continue walking, as he would then come across a mile down a crosswalk right in front of the store he needed to get to. He would see some type of image or deja vu in his head that if he took one step onto that crosswalk, he would get hit by a bus. Izuku reluctantly would wait, just sitting there, waiting for something to happen or waiting for a bus to go by. But that's when he would see Uraraka right in front of him pass him, with her not even noticing Izuku. As Uraraka would then take one step out onto the crosswalk, and there Izuku's dream or deja vu thought was. A bus came speeding around the corner and would slam head on into Uraraka, as Izuku's eyes would widen in shock as he'd say, What the hell just happened? He would be too shocked to even move, as he would take one step forward before collapsing to his knees and just looking at the blood scattered all across the road in tread marks because of the tires of the bus. So the bus would just keep hurtling on, leaving the scarred and scratched up body of Uraraka. Izuku would stand up, running over to Uraraka's body, as he would pick her up to see she was completely lifeless. Izuku would just fall back, confused. What? God allowed me these powers to save people, and I couldn't save someone right in front of me. Damn it! How could I be so blind? Izuku would say, as just crying now, having lost something that he actually cared for. Deep in his heart, he loved Uraraka, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to marry her, but now he couldn't. Well, we cut to heaven. Uraraka sitting there with God just saying, Oh my gosh, I'm getting flashbacks all over again. He would snap his fingers, telling Uraraka one thing. Izuku will tell you pretty much all you need to know. Uraraka would just nod, as she would then appear right in front of Izuku, with Izuku just turning around to see Uraraka's dead body gone, but to see Miss Angel just sitting there with long white hair, as Izuku would just say, Oh, Uraraka, right? Well, that's a bit strange, but I guess I can explain to you what happened to me, so you know what's up with you too. Uraraka would nod as Izuku would then sit down and start to explain everything that Uraraka needs to know. Why their angels, the drawback, why why nobody remembers them, and all that. Izuku would then go to UA with Uraraka, as Uraraka would wonder why they have to go to UA even though they still have a 2-week break. Izuku would just laugh as he would say, well, they don't know you're in the school yet, as Uraraka would just nod, as Izuku would walk into Nezu's office, as Nezu would then just say, Izuku, it's a shame what happened to Uraraka. I heard you and her were pretty close, correct? Izuku would nod as he would then introduce Nezu to this angel Uraraka. I will be referring to her as Uraraka, but nobody in the class, nobody in the world even knows it's her besides Izuku. Izuku would then say, well, I know it's been a couple days since then. Let's just say it's been a couple days since the incident of Uraraka dying. As Izuku would then say, I know it's been a couple days since Uraraka's death, but I hope we can get some type of light in this. You can allow my friend here a chance into UA. She has pretty much the same powers as mine, just a tad bit weaker. She still needs to train and hone her skills a little bit more, but I think she'd make a great fit and hero here at UA. Nezu would then say, well, I'll give her a shot. She'll have 2 months to show us how good she gets, and if she shows great improvement, then she can stay. Izuku would then thank Nezu as he would walk off with Uraraka. Then they would arrive at his house. She would wonder why she can't just go home, as Izuku would remind her her parents don't know who she is. Uraraka would just be saddened by the fact her parents will never know or see her again, but she has to get over that, as Izuku had to as well. Uraraka would then wonder, wait, why doesn't she get a house? God gave Izuku a house, why doesn't she? Izuku would then say, well, I just assumed you'd want to live with me, right? Uraraka would would blush deeply, as she would just say, what? Live with you? No, I can't possibly do that, right? Izuku would just say, nonsense. Sadly, I could only afford a house with 1 room. Wanted to save as much as possible. So I guess that means you'll have to share a bed with me. Uraraka would then pass out, of course, as Izuku would just look at her saying, guess that was too much for her to handle. Just put her on the couch, as Izuku would pick her up and put her onto the couch and would just start to make dinner. And now a quick ad break.
Are you interested in buying yourself some My Hero Academia merch? Some amazing hoodies, shirts with your favorite character on it? From Izuku Midoriya to Shoto Todoroki, Bakugo Katsuki, and Himiko Toga. Go click the link in my description box now and get some awesome discounts from 17% up to 48% off. They offer you free shipping as well. So, what are you waiting for? Link in the description.
Now that the ad is over, we can get back into this what if. Izuku would have just cooked dinner for him and Uraraka as he would start to hear her wake up. He would plate the dishes as he would then put them at the dinner table, as Uraraka would fully wake up now and sit down, smelling what Izuku had made, saying that it smells delicious. And there's just a whole eating scene as we cut to them getting into bed together, with Uraraka passing out again, with Izuku just helping her onto bed. It was just an extremely awkward moment for the two of them. Izuku would go back to UA a week and a half later with the new Uraraka, as many of the class would still kind of be devastated that Uraraka had died, but they would be hoping that this new person in their class was just like Uraraka and had the same personality, or just the same overall shine and kindness as Uraraka did. As it would be announced by Sawa that they will have to go to the UA Sports Festival that same day, which would cause a lot of people to just be surprised. I mean, why would you announce something that they could have been training for over those 3 weeks? Aizawa would have just said that they're UA students now and they should be training on their own, and it doesn't matter, and they shouldn't have to be told by an adult to go train. They're in high school now. Izuku would agree with this, as Aizawa would then show them to the bus to where they would put their uniforms on and get onto the bus as it would drive to the UA Sports Festival Coliseum. Izuku would sit down in the waiting room, waiting for him and the rest of Class 1A to get called out onto the field. Izuku would then hear over the loudspeakers, "Class 1A, please make your way onto the field for the opening." All of Class 1A would just say, "Alright, this waiting's finally over," as they would start to make their way over towards the exit. And as soon as those doors opened, the entire crowd roared. They were so happy to just see Class 1A in the next generation of heroes. The hero Midnight would walk up to a podium with a microphone and would then say, "Alright, can we please have our first year representative walk up onto the podium to give your speech?" Izuku, completely blindsided by this, would say, "Wait, I have to give a speech?" To which Midnight would then say, "Yes, of course you do. Now, welcoming Deku." As Izuku would walk up onto the podium, as he would then give a speech, hoping for everyone to try their absolute hardest, as the crowd would roar even louder, seeing as the next generation of heroes was at least somewhat nice, or at least one of them was. Midnight would then take the microphone from Izuku and would then announce the second event, which would be, or the first event would be a race, the second event would be a cavalry battle, and the third and final event would be a 1v1 tournament. As she would say, think of the first 2 rounds as a sort of qualifier for the tournament, as you really need to save a lot of your strength for the tournament, so I suggest getting in a couple of, the middle or the last, just so you have most of your energy saved up. Now, they would then be directed to a tunnel to where the race would start. Izuku would make his way to the front using his wings, as the doors would slowly creak open, with Izuku shooting himself as fast as a bullet right past everybody else. Uraraka, seeing this, would try to mimic what Izuku did, as Izuku would be going at huge amounts of speed. Uraraka would be somewhat going fast, but didn't want to run into anything, so she would be still going a little slow. Izuku would easily weave and dodge around any objects that he had to, as he would make his way over to the finish line to where he would easily cross it, getting first place. Uraraka would get second, and Todoroki and Bakugo getting third and fourth respectively. As most of Class 1A would then pass through the race as well, as Izuku would then start to get pumped up for the second event, being the cavalry battle. Midnight would tell them that the cavalry battle will have point systems with point headbands depending on where you placed in the race. And, however, the first place winner of that race will get a 10 million point headband. Almost instantly, everybody in the Coliseum that was a competitor would just be looking devilish eyes right at Izuku, as he would just start to back away, but to realize he was pretty much encircled by everyone. The only person on his side was Uraraka. Now, from there, Midnight gave everyone a 10-minute time period to try to pick their teams, to which Izuku would do, picking Uraraka, and that's it. He wanted a good team he knew he could trust, and that just happened to be Uraraka. So Izuku would pick Uraraka as the event would start. Both of them would put their headbands on Izuku, with them just flying up in the sky, waiting out the entire time. as they just thought wasting a lot of energy trying to dodge everybody would probably just make them exhausted before the 1v1 tournament, and flying seemed like a better choice. People like Bakugo would make an attempt to get up there, like him using his explosions, but it was no use. He would run out of energy and get exhausted before he even came close to them. So Izuku would just be looking down on all of them, knowing that they won't be able to get up to him, and also just smiling because he knew he got an easy victory there in the second event. People would start to give up and go for the smaller points, which would cause for the 1v1 tournament status to shift a bit, as Izuku and everyone else would hear over the loudspeaker that the second event had ended, and the third and final event will now begin, and for everyone to go back up into their designated stands for their certain classes. However, Izuku and a kid named Shinso would be said to stay, as they are the first match. Izuku would just think, no, Biggie, this is going to be a pretty quick first match, as he doesn't want to waste a lot of energy. He would walk up onto the stand, as he would see Shinso already there, as he'd say, "Cocky kids like you is what I hate." Izuku would just point at himself like, "Me? When was I cocky?" Shinso would just laugh as he'd say, "Oh, just showing off like that to everybody." As Izuku would just think for a moment, about to say something, as he would then have his answer drowned out by midnight, saying, "And you may begin!" As Izuku would rush right at Shinso, saying this should be easy, as he would go for a punch, with Shinso barely dodging it, as Izuku would use his other hand to punch Shinso as he dodged right into it. As Izuku would just laugh, saying, "Have you ever fought before? Come on, if you were gonna be that cocky at the start, you at least should have had some type of plan." As Izuku would then keep on punching Shinso, as Izuku would then do one final uppercut right at Shinso, which would hit his jaw, which would send him flying into the air, as he would land knocked out by the impact. As Izuku would just smile, knowing he had won. As Izuku would walk back onto the stands to watch Uraraka's first fight, Uraraka versus Bakugo Katsuki. Izuku thought, this is gonna be good, as he would see Uraraka jumping around trying to get hyped for the fight, as Bakugo would be standing there charging up his explosions. Midnight would yell go, as Bakugo would charge right at Uraraka. Uraraka would summon her preferred weapon, being a sword, which is just like Izuku's sword, but instead of gold and white, it's pink and white. As she would take a slash, blocking Bakugo's incoming attack, being an explosion, as Bakugo would go for a punch, which she would then slice her blade right at Bakugo, to which Bakugo would then chop clean off, as he would then fall down, which the entire crowd would gasp in shock. Is this girl a villain or something? As Uraraka would just say, "Oops, I got a little carried away," as she would place her hands right above Bakugo, which healing the injuries, as Bakugo's top half of his body would go down and connect to his lower half, as she would then just start apologizing to the unconscious Bakugo and the heroes in shock watching. As Bakugo would be rushed off to Recovery Girl to see if he had any other injuries, Uraraka would be scolded not to do that again. However, she did move on into the second event in the sports festival. The second event, or not the second event, the second round would be Izuku versus Todoroki, with Uraraka going up against Kirishima. Izuku versus Todoroki would go out pretty simple. He would see that Todoroki wasn't using his fire, as Izuku would say, "Use your fire, Todoroki!" Come on. It's not your dad's quirk. Can he control your flames? I don't think so. So that makes it your quirk, not his. Todoroki would burst into flames saying, "You're right." Izuku would take this opportunity to easily weave around Todoroki's fire, as he would say, "You're rusty, Todoroki. Guessing you haven't used your fire in years." As Izuku would punch Todoroki right in the stomach, as he would then grab Todoroki's neck, holding him up in the air and smashing him down into the ground, knocking him clean unconscious. Izuku would then have to go back up into the stands, having him going to the semi-finals. After that, it would be in the finals for him. Uraraka would be going up against Kirishima in the second round, so she would have to go and fight Kirishima. She would walk down onto the stand as she would start to get ready for her fight. Kirishima, knowing how sharp her sword must be, would start to harden himself so he won't get hit and get sliced in half by whatever type of sword she did have. The match would begin with Uraraka charging at Kirishima with her sword. Obviously, the sword would end up going right through Kirishima, but she was more cautious this time, tilting the blade so it was on its flat end, slamming it right into his head, which would cause the momentum to send him flying out of the arena, or whatever it is. The final match would be up against Izuku and Uraraka, which would go down just like this. Izuku and Uraraka would both walk up to each other, knowing that this was going to be either a very quick match or a very long match. Izuku would stand there saying that Uraraka still has much to learn, that she is more of a healing angel than a power angel like him. Uraraka would know this as the match would begin and would go in to try to use her Excalibur sword, which Izuku was easily able to dodge with his, while also dual wielding with his axe, and would then send the axe flying down and would stop right at her neck, to which she would become frozen in fear, which Izuku was able to use to his advantage, rotating his full body and kicking her in the neck, which would cause her to go unconscious. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy part 2 of What If Deku Was an Angel. I know it's not 40 minutes or 30 minutes long, but I wanted to end this off at the sports festival so I can get like 3 or 4 parts of this. I don't want it to be a super short 2-part series. So I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.